was a cold fall day, just like it was today. I was almost 2 years old. I was wearing my favorite purple dress, walking down the stairs, doing my little princess walk. We were going to a birthday party, and we were running late, so my dad puts on my shoes and rushes me to the car and puts on my seatbelt. This 2-year-old princess was not happy. She took off her seatbelt, strutted back inside the house, took those shoes off, sat there for 5 seconds. Then she put those shoes back on by herself, went back to the car and put her own seatbelt on by herself. This is the first time my parents realized what a strong-willed, independent child they were going to raise. My parents are first-generation immigrants from India. Life here is completely different from the one that they grew up in. In India, school was everything. Kids either became engineers or doctors. So when my parents saw that I was learning quickly and was more mature for my age, they thought it'd be a good idea to put me in a private all-girls school for kindergarten when I was 4 years old. While most 4-year-olds were in preschool at this time. This school was very strict. There were tons of rules to follow. You had to wear uniform. You were expected to read and write in cursive in kindergarten. And my least favorite part was that there was no playground. At recess, the most you could do was play with sticks and stones in the woods next to the school. But one day at recess, I was playing with a few other girls, and some older girls came up to us and took the girls I was playing with away from me because of my skin color. I didn't even know what to think. I was 4 years old. But regardless, I knew that it hurt. And so I was told not to lie in school at a young age, so I never did. One day, the teacher asked all the students in the class what you felt about school. Every kid said, "I love school." I was the only one that said, "I hate school," because of the negative experiences that I went through like that. The school didn't like my response. I didn't like the school, so I left. I am now in first grade as 6 years old, like any other 6-year-old would be in the public school system. Things are going great. I was making lots of new friends, and I was enjoying my time not having to wear those uniforms anymore. I was wearing all sorts of outfits with so much style. But my most favorite part was that there was a playground. There was monkey bars, swings, slides, everything, you name it. It was all there. One day I was playing at recess on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and a few girls came up to me and told me to tie and clean their shoes because that's what colored people do. Looking around, I knew that I looked different, but I didn't think people would really treat others this way. So I told my parents, and they told the counselor. And the counselor's initial statement was that I was making things up and dreaming of things. I guess it was easier for him to just think that the problem wasn't there. But it was there, and it hurt me. Later, in elementary school, things were improving. 4th and 5th grade, I had great teachers. And finally, at 11 years old, I was finally starting to enjoy school, only for it to abruptly shut down during the pandemic. I don't know about you, but that was a little bit too much time to spend with my family 24/7, locked inside the house. But I wanted to do something good with my time. So rather than wasting my time, I decided to spend my time doing art. Doing art also helped me feel less alone. But I loved doing it, and I would stay up past midnight trying to perfect those portraits to make the details as symmetrical and as perfect as possible. Everything I do in life, for some reason, has to be perfect. And I don't know why, but sometimes my standards are so high, I don't even meet my own expectations, and I beat myself up over it. My need to be perfect has come somewhere from not fitting in and a desire to do so. I didn't want the negative experiences in my life to define who I was, so I tried extra hard to be something and do something better than that. So I thought to myself, why not teach all the other kids in the world who are also bored right now art? Everyone's going through the same thing. So I started doing YouTube videos and uploaded them. Things are going great. But I wanted to increase the audience interaction. So I started doing Facebook Live sessions, and I started off with about 11 followers, and months later I had over 3,000 followers who were learning art from me and appreciating my time. But I remember one of the first portraits that I taught. It was a girl wearing a winter cap. And I remember, because an adult artist came into the comment section while I was teaching this live session, claiming that my sketch was too dark and I should learn what I'm doing before I teach it to others. I was confused because I already told all the students to draw lighter and I'm drawing darker due to the streaming quality so that they could see it better for their benefit. But all the students came to my defense in the comments as they were also confused why a grown woman was coming down on an 11-year-old girl teaching free art classes. Later, bigger organizations like Tana, a organization, approached me to do art sessions for their groups too. And I was moderating the sessions, I was answering the questions in the chat, and I was teaching the sessions at the same time. One time, I was teaching a session, and I remember a girl commenting in the chat saying that I'm not even good at art, she can do better than me, and that I suck. I just ignored it at that point, but she thought she was smart by changing her name in the Zoom chat to impersonate someone else, but she wasn't. I still found out who she was. And I reported it to the organization, and they offered me a moderator, but if I've been independent my whole entire life, why in the world would I change now? Later, school started opening back up to in-person, and things were going good. I was making new friends, enjoying school, going to school and coming back from school on the bus. And there are a lot of kids in our community, so where there should be 2 to a seat on the bus, there was 3 to a seat most of the times. One day, one of my friends told me to sit next to her on the bus, and I agreed. But I was one of the last few to get on the bus that day, and there was already another girl sitting next to her. And most of the other seats already had 3 to a seat, so I just sat down next to them. And the other girl that I was sitting next to, not my friend, she pushed me out of my seat and pulled my hair simply just because I was sitting next to her. And that was it for me. I was done. This girl had done things like this since 2nd grade, and this was now 6th grade, but none of which were physical, and this was the turning point for me. The second I got home, I opened that laptop and started writing an email. I told her that whatever she was doing was not okay, and I wasn't going to tolerate her behavior anymore, and that if she wants to continue doing it, she'll be hearing from the counselor. And this was the first time that I actually stood up for myself. I'm so glad that I did, because a few days later, she gave me a gift, an apology, and a hug, and we've been fine ever since then. It's the way the situation that was handled that changed it. And I've been challenging myself to do different things in my life. Like I've taught over 400 art classes since the pandemic. I've taught and performed free Bollywood dance throughout the community. I've taught at several elementary schools for the schools that don't have art programs due to lack of funding. I've made through my artwork and donated $20,000 to organizations that support the homeless and low-income families. I've given 2 TEDx talks at the age of 13 and 14, and I received the Volunteer Service Award from the President of the United States of America for volunteering over 800 hours in the last 2 years alone. Despite all this, there's still a void in my life. And I'm guilty of accidentally portraying a perfect life when I still go through all the struggles that other teenagers do. Some days, I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't want to go to school, and I worry about being left out. And you might be sensing a common theme here. Throughout all my stories, whether it's when I was 2 years old when I independently put my shoes on, when I was 4 years old and I spoke my truth, when I was 6 years old and I told someone about the racism I was dealing with, when I was 11 years old, I decided to do something good with my time rather than wasting it, or when I was 13 and I finally stood up for myself, the common theme here is that I was different. And what I learned throughout my journey at 14 years old now is that I might be different, and that's okay. So why fit in when you were born to stand out?